Marcus. Today I'm going to be doing an unboxing, calibration review and setup of the WF-01 dosing pump that I've just received from fishstreet.com. Let's start with the unboxing. Obviously it's come in this cardboard box. Came pretty quick actually, I think about 10 days from order to my door, so not bad considering it's come from China to Australia. None of that AliExpress style ordering where it can take 50 days to arrive at your door. Fairly standard box, there was no additional packaging, but let's see what it's like inside. And obviously I've also got a brochure with their business card, share with a friend, share on Facebook, get some discounts. And then this is the pump. This is a single head peristaltic dosing pump. From what I've seen and read about online already, it's meant to be very small. It's Wi-Fi enabled with an app for your phone, so it's a good gadget for your tank. And I think it's supposed to also be very user-friendly and easy to program, which is a criticism of a lot of the older style dosing pumps that are on the market. Opening it up, we have our instructions, a bit of foam, and here's how it's being packaged. In here we have our power brick, wall wart. It's an Australian socket, which is good to see, none of those adapters. Now I do prefer the ones where it's not a wall wart, it's a cable to the wart to then another cable, so that they're a little bit more easy to use on power boards, which most of us use on our tanks, but it's not too big, so this should be alright. And it's a pretty standard output, it's 12 volt 2 amp, so if you wanted to replace this with another style one, it would be very easy to do. It looks to be a pretty standard plug on the end as well. We have a spare dosing head, so it's good to see out of the box it comes with two of these. There's one on the pump and then this is the spare. We have the cable, a screw, no sorry not the cable, the tube, a check valve or a one-way valve, and a mounting screw. Now my understanding, this is important to prevent backflow, so it's always good to install this. This is plastic, this one. I'm not sure if it's going to stand up to the test of time over a really long period, but I'm sure they're very easy to replace and not too difficult to clean given that they're plastic. We'll see. We've also got this 15mm measuring cylinder, which I assume is going to be needed for the calibration, which we'll go through in a little bit. As for the length of this cable, I keep saying cable, it's a dosing line. I'll have to unwrap it and we'll see how long it is. It's tightly wrapped in glad wrap, as we can see there, and it's a very thin tube, but it appears to be quite a good quality silicone. It doesn't have that nasty smell that some of these have. I'd say that's about 1 meter, so not the longest length, but typically for a dosing application like this you probably wouldn't need a huge length, but given that this appears to be a fairly standard size, it wouldn't be hard to get more tubing. Or in many cases, I think people might use John Guest tubing, the same kind of tubing you use on your RO systems would be interchangeable with this, with the right adapter. And then finally, we have the pump itself, and my first impression is, wow, it is actually very small. It's not thick at all. Little black box with the head and the two connectors. Power goes in here, there's a button, we'll have to read the instructions to see what that does, and there's a single mounting hole. Now, one thing I'd note, the orientation of this mounting hole, you can see the little notch there, means that you might initially think that the way you would mount this in your sump or wherever you're choosing to mount it would be horizontal like this, but because of the notch being on the top there, that means that the mounting orientation is like this, with the tubes facing up. Just to be aware, that is the way that it would be mounted with this. Although this pump is so light, you could very easily just mount this with double-sided tape and I think it would be rock solid, so mounting it in another orientation wouldn't be a problem. You just would be not likely using the screw mount with the included screw to do that. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to get this set up on my phone with the app and read the instructions so that I know how to calibrate it, and then we'll come back and do a video through the calibration. It was pretty simple to get set up, it's only taken me a few minutes. All I've done is plugged it into power, downloaded the app on my phone. The app was pretty easy to find. You just search the App Store for, what was it that I searched for aqua dosing. There's also a QR code you can scan there. It's available for iOS and Android. Once I installed that app, all I had to do was join the Wi-Fi network that this pump broadcasts. That's super easy to find. It's just dosing underscore and then some random numbers. Once you've joined that Wi-Fi network, the app will find the pump. You then input the details of your regular home Wi-Fi network and save. The pump will restart. You join back onto your regular Wi-Fi on your phone, reopen the app, and it will find the pump, which is now connected to your home network. That whole process took less than 2 minutes, and now that the app is running on my home network, I can control the pump anytime I open the app. It's pretty self-explanatory. When you first open it, it will look something like this, and you press the plus button down in the bottom right-hand corner to access the menu with all of the options. Now the options in here are to set a reservoir volume size. That's a pretty cool feature because the pump will keep track of how much liquid it's drawn, and you set how big your reservoir is, and then it can give you an alarm or a warning once your reservoir is empty. It has the calibration option, which is what we're about to do now. Some timer options, option to change the Wi-Fi network, and then under advanced there's the ability to turn on or off the insufficient liquid alarm, a setting to make the pump always go back to its auto program when you close the app, regardless of any manual work that you might have done. There is a manual setting to just make it dose a certain amount. So obviously it may have been a problem in a previous version where people left it on manual and then forgot about it. So you can have it automatically go back to auto, and then auto test the pump option, which I'm not sure what that does, but it was on by default, so I'll leave that on. What we're going to do now is calibrate the pump. It's pretty easy to do. You just select the calibration option on the app here, and it gives you two options, a 1 mil calibration and a 10 mil calibration. Now before we calibrate the pump, what I want to check is the calibration of the calibrating cylinder that they gave us. So this cylinder goes from 2 mil is the first marking, all the way up to 14 mil, and I guess you could guess where the 1 mil and potentially 15 mil markings should be if they were printed on this. But what I'm going to do is, I have some known good syringes here. One of them is a 24 mil syringe and another one is a 6 mil syringe. So I want to see how well these marry up to the markings on this cylinder. So I'm going to pull out 10 mil. There we go. So that's 10 mil on this larger syringe, and put it in here. And yeah, see, it's a bit off. So according to this, we're at 11.5 mil. According to this one, that was 10 mil. Let's see, only one of them can be right, or unless they're both wrong. This one here is 6 mil, so I'm going to pull 5 mil on this syringe twice, and we'll see where it goes to. $11.5. So that's the same result that we got at the 10 mil on this one. So that's telling me that these two are both the same, and this is the one that's different. And given that these came with test kits, quite good test kits, this came from a NIOS test kit, this came from a Giesmann test kit, I'm more inclined to trust the accuracy of these over this, which has pretty low quality printing on it and is missing indicator lines at the 1 mil indicator, which is the calibration setting that you're meant to do on the pump. So my advice is throw this in the bin, don't use it for your calibration. We're not going to use it. I'm going to rely on these to test the accuracy of the calibration, and I just have another cylinder here which I'm going to use as the reservoir. So to do the calibration, we're going to initially do a 10 mil calibration. So we have one line into the 500 ml of water here, and the other line here I'm going to place inside this little test tube for reservoir, and select 10 mil calibration and confirm. There we go. And interestingly, it's exactly at the 10 mil mark on this cylinder, but I haven't tested the accuracy of this cylinder. We have tested the accuracy of these. So I'm going to now suck all the water out of this cylinder into this known good syringe. 9.5, as you can see there, is you enter 9.5 in the app as your result, and that now calibrates it. Now I'm going to do the 1 mil calibration in the same way. Put the one end of the tubing in here, press the calibrate 1 mil, confirm. And I'm going to use my smaller syringe, pull out all of the liquid. And that is at dead on 1 mil. So it appears that the calibration has worked. And just to confirm that dead on 1 mil there, if I was to pour that back into this cylinder, which we know is inaccurate, it's dead on 2 mil. Clearly the calibration lines on this cylinder are not to be trusted. Use your own syringes and known good reservoirs and beakers from your test kits. I would say they're much more accurate than this one. But we got there, and it appears that it's now accurately calibrated. To confirm that, I'm now going to do a manual run on the pump. So in the pump on the main menu, it'll default to auto. You just tap manual here, and channel 1 is this pump. You'll see there's actually 4 channels because there's a 4-pump version of this, and the app obviously only has one view. But if you, on channel 1, you tap on the mil. I'm going to enter, how big is this? This is 30 mil. It's the largest cylinder, the largest line on this one. So I'm going to enter 30 and begin. And we'll see how close we are with a bigger volume of liquid being pumped in. The pump makes a little noise. I'm not sure if the microphone can pick that up, but I think once it's inside your sump, it should be pretty quiet. Wow, look at that. Bang on the 30mm line. So clearly our calibration has been quite accurate and worked pretty well using these and not trusting this. Alright, so my final thoughts on the WF-01 Wi-Fi dosing pump. Other than some initial troubleshooting that I had to go through, as you saw with the calibration, mostly because the calibration cylinder they provide isn't accurate, I'm pretty impressed with it. It's a small little pump. It's very accurate once properly calibrated, and it's definitely going to be quite versatile in the ways you can use it. So why would you want a single channel dosing pump? There's a few reasons. It might be your first foray into dosing pumps and you want to start small. These are quite cheap, so the barrier to entry is pretty low. You might already have a Wi-Fi dosing pump set up, 3 or 4 channel, and need an extra channel. It's becoming increasingly common. Lots of people start off dosing 2-part or 3-part with calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity, and then go on to also want to dose something extra like amino acids or some type of coral food. In my case, I'm going to be using this to dose kalkwasser. I currently run kalkwasser in my ATO, and it's dosed to my tank here as per my evaporation. Now that's good, and you can have a lot of success like that. In fact, I've had a lot of success like that. However, it's not the best or the most optimum way of doing it, because evaporation isn't the same every day. And we always hear that consistency is the #1 factor for success with a good reef tank. So in order to improve the consistency of my dosing and therefore the consistency of my parameters, I want to put my kalkwasser on a dosing pump and separate it from my ATO. That's why I got this single channel dosing pump and how I'm going to be using it. Once I get it set up with my kalkwasser reactor, I'll do a second video and you can see exactly how that works. The final use case for that I thought of for a single-headed dosing pump like this would be for a nano tank using an all-in-one, one-part, as it were, Reef additive like All for Reef or any of the calcium formate style all-in-one dosing regimes. These are becoming increasingly popular. They're quite expensive, but for a nano tank, they're much more affordable and a very, very easy way to completely automate your macro element maintenance in the tank. So a little pump like this, with its tiny form factor, easily able to be mounted in a vertical orientation like this, anywhere, even on the back of your tank, would be absolutely fantastic for a nano tank. In my case with the Calcwasser, I'm not going to be running Calcwasser through the tubing. It's going to be pushing RO into the calc reactor, so I'm not worried about the longevity of the pump as a result of the very caustic calc powder running through this, because that won't be a problem for me. Should be noted that it did come with a second dosing head, so I'm very happy about that. So right out of the box you've got a spare. My biggest criticism is though that the calibration test tube is not accurate, so use your own test tubes or known good vessel for doing the calibration. And this tubing is not very long. This is all the tube that was provided. It came in one piece, I cut it in two, but I'd say unless you are running it on a nano, you'll likely need more tubing than this, so just bear that in mind. But yeah, overall, it's a great little pump for the price, and definitely got my recommendation from my day one out of the box experience with it. I'll do a follow-up in a few months and another video once I get my calc reactor set up with this, so you can see exactly how that works. My name's Marcus, thanks very much.